Hi there and welcome. I'm Lisa Ingalls Witter, and I'm here to help you to awaken the true you. Welcome once again to this episode. It's wonderful to be with you here today. And today I want to talk about something called inquiry. It's a practice called inquiry. I think if you've been on the path for any length of time, you're familiar with the work of Byron Katie. Is it true? If you have been on the path, you've undoubtedly gotten that question and have gone through her line of inquiry before. And I first learned about the work and the inquiry work of that Byron Katie teaches specifically almost 20 years ago. I'm remembering I had ordered, like back in the day when CDs it was a CD program of like a 10-pack of CDs of a particular system of belief changing, and one of the modules in that system was Byron Katie's The Work, and I loved it so much. I learned more about it, and then I began to incorporate it into the coaching that I was doing with my clients and all that fun stuff. But what I'm here to talk about is not necessarily about Byron Katie and the work, but about the inquiry process in general. Inquiry is so critical when you're on the path to personal and spiritual growth, because what inquiry does is it helps us to see things as they really are, not to see things as we think they are, which is very critical. Again, in Eastern philosophy, you guys hear me talk about this a lot because I'm very influenced by Eastern philosophy. In Eastern philosophy, they say that there are actually three things that create suffering in our lives. The first is aversion. The second is attachment, or vice versa, attachment, aversion. The third is delusion or misconception. And when we're in a practice of inquiry, when we have a practice of inquiry, we can actually begin to unravel ourselves from the grips of attachment, aversion, and misconception about who we are, the truth of who we are, the truth of who other people are, and the true nature of reality as a whole. So there's many different types of inquiry that you can do. But I think that the bottom line of it, just for what I want to talk about today, is that we need to use inquiry to get to the bottom of the truth. In a previous video, I had talked about, a previous episode, I had talked about two types of truth, the relative truth and the absolute truth. If you haven't seen that video, please do go back and watch that video, watch that episode. It's totally worth it, and it will give you some background for this episode. And this is just reminding me as I'm thinking about it, this really great quote by Adyashanti. And he said that the truth is that no belief is true. And when we think in terms of what brings us suffering, like I said, attachment, aversion, or misconceptions, all of those have these beliefs tied to it. So for instance, thoughts of attachment are going to be, this is super general, you guys, like I'm not saying this is only it, but I'm giving one general example. Like, I have to have that fill in the blank. I have to have that car. I have to have that dress. I have to have that makeup. I have to have, it doesn't matter, that book. I have to have, sign up for that program. Like, you have a desire, an attachment to it. Well, this actually, I can tie in Byron Katie's work into that, because that question, is it true that you have to have that thing, begins to challenge and unravel the energy behind that thought, right? So we have thoughts of attachment. I have to have, I desire, I want more of. We have thoughts of aversion as well. I'm repulsed by that thing or that person, him, her, it, whatever. I don't want it, uh, maybe someone at work, you're thinking, oh my God, I can't stand her. She's such a whatever, fill in the blank. You have an aversion to even being around that person. Or maybe it's a circumstance. Maybe you're driving by homelessness, and the first thought that goes through your mind about homelessness is, oh my God, why don't they get a job? Why didn't they, like, what is this with all the homelessness? Or maybe your thought is, why is this happening? Like, you have this real rage against it. That's not such a good example. But you get what I mean. You have a situation, circumstance, person, and aversion to. You can also use that same inquiry, is it true that he or she is whatever aversion feeling, is a real asshole, for instance. He's a real asshole. Is it true that he's a real asshole? You need to start unraveling these beliefs that you have. And then we have, misconceptions. So we need inquiry to work with misconceptions that we have as well. Misconceptions could be things, beliefs that we have about ourselves. A misconception that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. Is it true that you're not good enough? Is it true that you're not worthy? So the process of inquiry, and I'm just using Byron Katie's, the work, her first question, is it true? Because it is a really good entry level point of inquiry. There are, like I said, many, many other types of insight inquiry that are very important when you're on the journey. And again, as I say, probably almost every episode, this is a journey. Awakening to the true you is not a finish. There is no finish line. I hate to tell you that. But there is not a finish line to it. It's a journey. And this process of inquiry is one of the core practices you have to do in order to awaken to the true you. So thank you for joining me today. And if you haven't already, check me out over on Facebook, like my page. It is Lisa Ingalls Witter over on Facebook, here on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel if you're liking this content, and then you'll get notified of any upcoming episodes that I'm posting. They do come often, so don't want you to miss anything. Thanks all. Take care. Namaste.